Well, a real treat to talk to somebody that actually had to defend themselves from, I mean, a pretty crazy threat. And Andre, tell us about yourself, man. Where do you live and what do you do?
My name's Andre. I live in central Louisiana. For work, I just work with all the other average Joes around here at a lumber mill, which is pretty much what most people do around here. Um, I followed active self protection for I'd say at least 2 years when I found your channel, and I've watched a lot of the videos. And I never actually thought any situation like that would ever come to my door because I'm low key. I don't really get involved with much people. I work nights, sleep days, so uh, it's just any situation like this can happen to anybody, even if you think you're staying under the radar.
So the first thing that I noticed, Andre, when I was watching the video that you posted to your YouTube channel, we'll put a link in the description, right? Is that on, in the camera that's in your living room, that you had your pepper fogger mounted near the door. And I'm pretty sure on the kitchen table, I can see there's a pistol. Did you have a pistol out on the kitchen table?
Yeah, that's my daily carry. It's a Glock 20, 10 millimeter.
Ooh. Oh, 10 millimeter is best millimeter.
Uh, I love that gun. It's just a lot. It's a lot of fun to shoot once you get the hang of it, and I reload for it. So, yeah, that's
So
that's where
you're
it
wait,
goes.
wait.
Okay, so you carry a Glock 20, a 10 millimeter, which is a carpal tunnel inducing hand cannon, uh, and you're a reloader,
Yeah.
and you've got a big old pepper fogger at the front door. Clearly, you have entered into this lifestyle a little bit. Have you trained much under professional instruction in terms of self-defense?
Well, I wish I could take credit, but pretty much it's all just kind of self-taught reviews and YouTube videos. It started out, not gonna lie, it started out more as a hobby. When I bought my first pistol, and you know how that goes. You buy your second, third, and then you kind of follow all the other guys who are doing it. Um, and then as far as the surveillance system goes, I got big into drone piloting when drones first started coming out. I started flying them as a hobby. We had a Facebook group for our Louisiana guys, and I realized just how easy these things are to set up. So that's how the surveillance system come into play. Never thought I'd actually get to use it for anything interesting other than B-roll footage for blogs and stuff. But firearms and reloading especially, I just got into as a hobby, something to do for fun. No formal training. I've never actually taken any kind of small arms or pistol defensive class. I always wanted to, but there's not a lot of stuff around that where I live without driving for hours. And I just go to the range and practice. When the weather's not blazing hot, I'll be at the range at least twice a month, shooting the pistols and the rifles, just shooting at paper targets. But it's it's one heck of a lifestyle. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. But you do carry that Glock 20. So I take it there in Louisiana that you've at least taken your license to carry class.
Yeah, I actually used what you might consider to be kind of the loophole. I got the out-of-state, I believe it was West Virginia permit, which has reciprocity. Sorry, I'm bad with words. Which is recognized in Louisiana and a lot of other states. That allowed me to get my concealed carry permit um, mostly online, doing the fingerprinting in the local
Okay.
courthouse and picture taking and all that. Checked with my sheriff's office to make sure it really was recognized. And I was able to do that without actually taking the CCW class. Um, yeah, I try and do as many things as I can without having to travel, working nights and sleeping days. It's just,
Yeah, that makes for a difficulty. Okay, so let's talk about the incident a little bit. The woman in the incident, we're going to put this on the main channel, right? So the main channel is going to have kind of how things went and what went down. But from our email interaction, that is an basically ex-family-in-law, right?
yeah, ex-mother-in-law, wife and I broke up about 3 years ago. And it interesting is that there hasn't really been any drama between me and her family. So that's why this really caught me off guard. And just for anybody who might have a question somewhere along this, the use of a firearm in this situation was never even a thought on my mind because she's still kind of family to me, and I haven't known her to do anything crazy like this before, because I know that question might come up eventually. So
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions. Like, wait a minute. So, and I think a lot of people would think, oh, it's my home or whatever. And so I'm going to go get the firearm. I'm glad you didn't. I think that, there wasn't any reasonable, objective, deadly threat here. So I was really going to ask, where was that mindset? So it really was, hey, this is still kind of family. She has never been crazy like this. She seemed drunk to me. Is that what you thought?
as I found out a few days later from her son, which we're still on good terms with, she had apparently a binge on one of those box wines, and I think maybe drunk close to the whole thing.
Yeah.
So
A box of wine will do it.
I don't know if any drugs were involved. She's not somebody I know to take drugs, but this is Louisiana, and you never know. But
So
yeah.
I also want to know what happened with the deadbolt, man. So you're, so you try to close the door on her. She resists, and then your deadbolt got stuck.
Yeah, if you'll notice from the outdoor camera looking towards the front door, when she pretty much puts her whole body into the door, a lot of us, I'm sure, got into the habit that as you close the door, you turn the deadbolt, and it's kind of just a timing thing. The door shuts, the deadbolt locks. Well, not expecting the body slam, deadbolt got stuck halfway into the door frame, and it was just kind of one of those weird situations where it was stuck and it wouldn't go one way or the other at the moment. It's kind of like a bad draw on a holster, I guess.
Yeah, you just fouled the draw, man.
Yeah, just fouled the draw on a Serpa holster. So after the spray situation, I was able to kind of tap it and get it to shut and lock. So that was a relief, especially considering that she came back several times, and I just didn't want to have to deal with her coming in. That wouldn't have been fun.
Man.
Big time. So you went for the pepper gel, and you said, when we were talking just a little bit ago, that it seemed highly recommended and highly rated.
Yes, the reviews on Amazon, it's this Sabre Red, what is it, Home Defense Pepper Gel, and the reviews on this exact can are pretty darn good. And the only complaints I actually found on it were a few things about packaging and shipping, so nothing negative about its actual performance. And as far as I can tell, it's a reputable manufacturer.
Yeah, Sabre makes great stuff, no question about it. And so you bought that going, oh, okay, this is probably going to be the right stuff.
Yeah, and I will give it credit where credit's due. In the moment, the design of this can is more than just it looks. It's actually really well balanced, and aiming it was incredibly easy. From the moment the spray first started coming out, I was able to go from the chest straight up to the head in split seconds. Getting the pin out and using it, it was very intuitive. The design of the can itself is incredibly intuitive.
Yeah, and that big old can for a home defense situation, much easier than a little bitty, handheld portable size.
Definitely.
Yeah. And so, man, I just want to say, as a self-defense trainer, that I love that you had that big old can sitting right next to the door. That's the right spot to put it. That's the right answer for that moment. You got somebody who is, beginning to be threatening, but not actively beating your door down or whatever. So you grab the pepper and hit her with the pepper. Did it surprise you that she didn't freak out because she wasn't hurting?
It did a little bit. When I first hit her with it, it looked like it was going to work because she backed off and turned away, and then just kind of stood there. I was expecting more of a stumble away effect, but she just kind of stood there and took 2 more hits and continued with the slightly comical montage of language afterwards. But I was actually pretty surprised that it had such a little effect. With how drunk she was, she must have been completely numb to any pain whatsoever.
So question, did you, so what I've seen sometimes, a lot of times actually with gel, is they can take 45 seconds to a minute to have significant effect. They take a long time is what it is. Did you have contact with her over the next couple of minutes?
No, just what you can see in the video. Once I got the door shut, that was it. I went and got my phone and called the authorities.
Smart.
But you'll see while I'm doing that, she's actually beating on the side of the house. She comes back up and yells through the front door as if she'd never been sprayed at all. You can even understand some of the words that she's saying. She can clearly see where she's going. There was a little bit of stumbling, so I'm sure it had some effect. But yeah, if
Not much.
they're really drunk, then the gel I don't personally, and I have very limited experience. This is the only situation I've ever come close to any kind of encounter like this. But in my own opinion, the gel, I'll try and be replacing it with a spray, possibly the foam. I've seen some things on the foam that might be beneficial. It has a wide cover area, but I think the spray would have been better because had she been able to inhale some of it, I think her ability to come back would have been reduced. But
Yeah, I agree with you. I recommend to people the gel's no good. Generally, the foam's not great either. It's got the same problem with delay onset. So go for the spray, man.
and I've been looking. I actually, you might have some information on where to find a nice home defense style can of the spray, but I had a hard time, at least on Amazon, finding spray in a larger can. Everything seems to be gel on there. Maybe I just wasn't
Yeah.
looking hard enough.
And that can be a real problem, but we'll look around and we'll find the right distributor for that because I know they exist. I know they're out there. I just the spray and the foam and the cone, the fog is I think more for law enforcement where you're trying to just hose over a huge area, and it can be helpful like on your front porch. But of course, you were shooting from inside the house to outside the house, and sometimes that fogger can kind of spray out too much and blast a bunch back into the house.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the key ways they advertise this as a home defense is it's supposed to have very little effect on bystanders, family, friends, small children that might be in the house. One thing to note, though, I did get a little on my door frame that I just didn't know about. And after the incident, as I closed the door, I got it on my hands and I inevitably got it on my lips and just that little bit. And it was burning pretty good. So
Yeah.
it definitely had some effect. But yeah, I see why the gel is advertised for home defense. But I, in my own opinion, I would be willing to have some spray back on myself if it means the effect is stronger on the assailant.
Exactly. I think, man, great lesson there. I know I run the risk of getting a little blowback, but to get the assailant to have an immediate effect, that risk is worth it for sure. What other take homes would you have, man?
Just one more thought on what you just said. Another thing, especially if you're expecting the spray, so you might be ready for a little bit of blowback, whereas it's a surprise to them, so you might be able to fight it a little bit more. What was your question there?
It was what other lessons did you take away from this? I mean, I know it was fairly recent here, so is there anything that you go, wow, here's something I think I did really well. Here's something that I think I'll improve for if God forbid I ever have something happen again.
Well, I hate to give, I hate to try and give myself credit on things where I have to dig at it. I'm not sure if I could have improved the situation other than simply not answering the door. However,
Okay.
because she was family, I wasn't sure. I could tell that she was definitely drunk. I didn't know that she was angry. So I wasn't sure if maybe something dramatic happened and she just needed someone to talk to. So I answered the door. My first and pretty much only complete sentence that I was able to get out was probably not my best choice. I asked, "Why are you beating on my house?" And obviously, that's not very threatening to most people who are sober. To somebody who's drunk, they might immediately take that to heart and think that it's a challenge of their pride or whatever. Because you'll notice when I open the door, she says, "Hi, Andre." I know this sounds kind of silly, but I think if I had chosen my words better while I opened the door, I might have been able to avoid that complete situation. I just wasn't expecting it at all. Might have ended up having a friendly conversation, but she was rather belligerent with her son who was trying to get her to go home. So I'm not sure if I could have turned that any better. As far as positives, home security system, get yourself some cameras because when the police came, just the simple fact that I offered them the footage, they look like the look on their face went from, "Oh, this is gonna suck," to, "Oh, thank God."
Right, no question what happened, right?
If like I point cameras, if you guys want to see it, here you go. But if you can get cameras on your homes, I recommend that. As far as the spray goes, well, you already have my thoughts and opinions on that. I don't, like you, I don't think the gel is the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not sure I can add much more to it, but hopefully this helps anybody who's just curious what effects this would have on somebody who's very drunk.
Yeah, and I think so. Here's the interesting thing: we know that statistically, somewhere around 10% of people are not highly affected by OC spray. They just kind of have a natural immunity to the oleoresin capsicum. So hopefully 9 people out of 10 you give the spicy treats to are going to go, holy cow, this is terrible. But 1 in 10 is going to go, that's miserable. But you know what? Get off me, dude. So recognize that you got to kind of plan for that eventuality, right? That you might have to go, plan B. I would say I love that you kept cool, that you stayed present and you didn't freak out, and your demeanor was really, really good, and I think that's excellent, man. I love that you had security camera footage. I love that you had that because God forbid something goes down in your house. Now you have a recording of what happened, and I think that's really wise. So that was great planning in advance. I think it was money that you went for the pepper spray and not the gun. I think that was exactly right. You had a belligerent drunk in the yard who you didn't have an objective, reasonable, deadly threat. So not bringing the gun to that fight was absolutely the correct decision. And even if you say, wait a minute, she's in my yard, she's threatening me, she's trying to break into my house, I could have shot her. But you're going to talk about tens of thousands of dollars of lawyers' fees. Whereas this, you pepper sprayed her, it's really no big deal. Like the cops come and laugh at her, take her off to jail if they want to, and no harm, no foul, right? The next day, she's not even injured. So really good job on that. Maybe a couple things to think about. I get that you opened the door. I mean, it's 9 o'clock at night, right? It wasn't a late night. It's not like it's 2 o'clock in the morning or anything like that. And this is somebody you know. So this is somebody that you've had a relationship with. So that makes sense to me that you'd open the door. Maybe another step to take before next time is to get a security screen door installed. So you can open the door in those instances, but you've still got a barrier between you and them that should stay locked, right? So then that way you have that layer of physical boundary.
Actually, that you mentioned that is something I have that I forgot I could have utilized. I have these floor bars installed on my front and back door to help prevent, people from just coming and kicking your door in. Mm-hmm. When flipped in reverse, they allow the door to be ajar and speak to whoever's on the other side, but they still can't force the door open. It's kind of like those latches they would use at hotels, but it's actual security where they can't just break through it. I could have utilized that. Maybe if I would have been a little more awake, I certainly would have utilized it had it been a stranger. But that was definitely something that could have prevented any of this from happening. So.
Yeah, man. But I mean, those are nitpicks, dude. I mean, at the end of the day, you kept your calm, you handled a drunk. I mean, of course, we always talk about, you said, gosh, man, the one full sentence I got in may have escalated the conflict. You give yourself a little credit because you just got out of bed. It's like, gosh, man, I'm just kind of waking up. That's my normal kind of routine because I work nights. So, okay, fine. At the same time, you did stay present, and that was really good. Of course, working on our verbal judo to be able to go, hey, what's going on? You okay? How can I help you? I get it. Yeah, she's always your daughter. You're totally right. High five. Have a nice day. I don't know that it would have made any difference here. If you say her son is trying to drag her off and do all these things, you're probably stuck, man. I mean, there's just nothing you're going to do. But in an overall sense, a lot of good stuff here, man, and I think a lot of good lessons for all of us. I do recommend the spray over the gel, over the foam, over the fog too, for in the house, because when you want to put it somewhere, you don't want to put it necessarily everywhere in your home defense. Though there is a place for the fog, because if I can get outside and there's a bunch of people, I can make a big cloud. But with that big old can, I can hose everyone down anyways. I got enough for all of you. So I think the spray is the right way to go there. And man, I just love that you had that mounted at the door. That was good stuff. So, I mean, hey, Andre, I think you covered your ass, bro.
Well, thanks. I really appreciate that, John. And I appreciate all the information you're able to give all of us. It really helps.
Yeah, 100%, man. And thank you so much for coming and sharing your story, for being willing to share it with us, to let us use it to educate people on the big channel, and for giving us your story, man. I think it's great. And I tell you what, if ever you want to come to an active self-protection class, one of the ones we teach all over the country, it's on me, bro. Anytime you want to come and take a class and get some firearms instruction, I'd totally love to have you in class, and it's on me.
Well, man, I'll have to keep an eye on you guys' schedule, because I might take you up on that.
Awesome, man. Andre, thanks so much for the time, bro. Really appreciate you.
Hey guys, stay safe out there.